Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to a special edition of Kentucky's Voice. And of course, we say every show is a special edition, but this is even a specialer edition, if there is such a thing. And so this is the week we're asking our viewers and our listeners to help us, help yourself, help the country, help the state, get engaged, and get engaged in multiple ways. And so we're spending the week to really just spell out what this project's about, our mission, how this is not just we come up with this great idea and it's a top-down sort of thing. This is a grassroots project that is that's supported by listeners and viewers like yourself. And so today we're doing a share-a-thon. We're all this week we're doing a share-a-thon for Kentucky's Voice, and so our goal we have a goal to, of course, raise some funds today, but beyond just the fundraising, we want people to be engaged even on the volunteer level. We're looking for volunteers to help us with this project, and listen, let me just get real for a second. A lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives, a lot of MAGA supporters, Trump supporters. They fought the good fight over the past decade or so, and they voted in Donald Trump, and now they think they can sit back and they're done. Trump's got it. He's going to take care of all these issues. He's even going to fix crime in our city. He's going to bring in the National Guard, and let me warn you, that is a trap. That is a real trap, because granted, the president has a lot of power. We do have Congress. We do have a state legislature that's conservative. We do have a lot of things going for us politically. But outside of that, every major institution in this country is still captured. It's still captured by the far left, and they're not going to give up control easily. Even though they're on the outs from a cultural standpoint, they're not as popular. They're not as people are not supporting all this woke stuff and the socialism stuff. They're not into that. They think they're righteous. They think they're right. They think they're the moral actors in this struggle for the future of this country, and they're not going to go away quietly. And they're going to rally and they're going to fight. And so it's going to take a grassroots effort. To make this change, because like I said, every institution is taken: media, education, Hollywood, even big business. I mean, look at Cracker Barrel. Look at all these companies. Big finance, even evangelical churches now. Half of Protestantism, and good part of Catholicism, and this kind of Christianity as a whole. There's a real battle within those institutions now. But what direction do we take the country? So the only way this happens, the only way we make this change, is a grassroots. It's a bottom-up effort. It's not top-down. It's not Donald Trump or some institution, some elite group is not going to come in and save you. It's got to be done from the American people up, from the individual level up. And so that's why we created this program. We created this program because we live in this state. We're Kentuckians. This is in our perimeter, in our part of this fight, in our part of the front line. We're going to man up and we're going to do something about it. And we're going to fight the good fight and rally people around us to make a difference. On the issues that count, and then we can only do that with your help. And so, and at the end of the day, the fight is a media fight. It's a messaging fight. This isn't. We're not out cleaning our shotguns, ready to go out and take on the government just yet. This is a information war. This is a culture battle, and where you fight that is in the media. So that's why we're here. So we're asking for support. And our goal today is $10,000 in pledges. And so anyway, we also have some great guests today. We have David Walls and Bob Scott. We're going to have a great show outside of the appeals. So thanks for joining us. We'll be right back, and appreciate you joining us on the Kentucky's Voice Share-a-thon. And boy, we need your support, and we're making a big difference as well, thanks to you. We'll be right back.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall Fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
All right, welcome back to the show. So we're doing a special today. It's the Kentucky's Voice Share-a-thon, and so we're asking for your support. And so, of course, if you've watched this show, if you're listened to this program over the past year or two, you know that we are a program that's dedicated to Kentucky-oriented news and politics from a conservative perspective. And so that means we're going to report the news, and we're going to comment on the news, specifically news that relates to local issues and Kentucky issues from a conservative perspective. So picture, we've got the national stuff. We've got the national networks like, Fox News, Rural America's Voice, OAN, Newsmax, all these great, even digitally, you get Daily Wire and The Blaze, and all these great, national conservative voices that interpret the news, that comment on the news, and those are great and needed. But there's nobody doing that locally. There's nobody doing that in your state. And really what happens in your state and locally impacts you more than what happens in D.C. And so though it's fun to listen to what's happening nationally, who your mayor is, who the local legislator is, who your governor is, who your school board member is more impactful to your day-to-day life than who the president is or who some, senator from Idaho is or something. So, but there's nobody talking about it. There's nobody here to say, well, what's going on locally? I don't know. What's the legislature about? When's the Kentucky legislature even meet? What's the governor? Why is the governor so woke and we're a red state? All these questions have never been really answered. It's because one reason is because we don't have a good local media that deals with these things in a conservative way. So that's what we're about. That's where, and we've actually have made a difference in the past couple of years. We've helped move the needle on several issues over the past year, and it's thanks to you. Folks like you have stood up and supported us because this is a viewer supported, viewer and listener supported project. Just the nature of the size of the audience we have in the state of Kentucky, where it takes right now some initial seed funding and support to get this sort of project off the ground because it's expensive to do local news and commentary. So in order for us to really make this work, we need support outside of just traditional advertising revenues. There's not enough advertising revenue to justify the expense at this point, because the program will grow eventually, and we'll have a larger audience, and advertising revenue will follow suit, and we can. But at this point, we need your support. We need your support. So And to do that, you can. There's a number at the bottom of the screen there. It's 502-571-0970. And actually, you can text that. That's actually our text line. So 502-571-0970. Text the word "give," and you can give to Kentucky's Voice. It'll send you a response back, and you can type in whatever you want to give. Or you can go to kyvoice.org, and you can also give there. There's a QR code on the screen that you can actually use as well to click through, and we're looking for monthly supporters. $100, $20 a month, $100 a month, whatever you can afford. Our goal today is to raise $10,000, and like I said, this is the fight. The media war is the fight, and you can make the biggest difference locally in this state by helping us move the needle on issues than even giving to some politician, giving to some candidate. We can help every candidate. Your dollar goes to every candidate when you donate to us. So, okay, we've got an awesome guest with us. He's one of our regular guests. It's David Walls with the Family Foundation. David, are you there? Sorry, I had to make my pitch at the beginning of the segment there, so bear with me. But,
no, that's all right, Tom. No, it is good to be with you this morning. And, man, I am just incredibly thankful for the opportunity that I and the Family Foundation have had to be able to partner with Kentucky's Voice. Yes, to come on and guest host, but I'm just excited about what's going on here. I mean, you stated it, really importantly, I think. We need a growing conservative voice in Kentucky. The ministry that I lead, the Family Foundation, we're a Christian public policy organization. We've been around for 36 years. We advocate for God-honoring policy at the state level primarily. Yeah, we follow what's happening at the national level, and we'll engage with some of our national allies. But what you said is incredibly important. Ultimately, what happens at the local level, what happens in Frankfurt, impacts Kentuckians' lives more than what happens in Washington, D.C. I like to say, when I have the opportunity to go around and speak to churches and other conservative organizations about the work that we're called to do at the Family Foundation, that our founding fathers would be rolling over in their graves if they knew that most Americans now maybe have some idea who their federal elected officials are, but have no idea who their local or state elected officials are. That's not the way it was designed. Our nation was designed to be from the ground up, from the local communities, from the states up. That's how we impact what's happening at the national level. And why, while I continue to be incredibly thankful for some of the things that the Trump administration is doing, I will tell you, Tom, that many of the policies, the executive orders that we've all been praising that President Trump has put forward, those are copying what has happened at the state level, because grassroots Christian conservatives have come together and are making an impact across this nation. And that's why it's so important what Kentucky's Voice is doing to continue to build that movement and that voice right here in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, well said. And of course, I made this point in the first segment. We can't sit back and just trust that the administration, that President Trump is going to solve all these problems. Granted, these executive orders that he rolls out daily. I mean, it's like Christmas every day if you're a conservative, because it's like, what's he gonna do today? What kind of order is he gonna release today? And it's just so fun to watch this administration. But at the end of the day, these are executive orders, and so the next administration, if it's a Democrat administration, they can just overturn those. And so at the end of the day, we need to, at the state level, codify these things. We need to take a lot of these ideas and issues and make sure that they are at least legislated at the state level and locked in, so we can live under better law in this Commonwealth. And so in order to make that happen, you have to encourage lawmakers to make the right decisions, to be informed about the issues. They need to feel the pressure and also feel that there is a coalition. Basically, there's support rallying around a particular issue. Well, how do you do that? The media is what helps inform people about an issue and helps build support, and then the politicians then feel secure enough to vote in a maybe could be a controversial issue, but they'll feel secure because they know that there's a constituency out there that wants these things to happen. And so it all starts with media. Media is the key, and media that actually creates a narrative that's positive. It moves things in the right direction. David, I'm sure you've dealt with this. I mean, you've dealt with the media in this state for 30 years. Well, the Family Foundation has, you're not that old. I think I would have seen it. Walk that back there, Tom. But at least the Family Foundation has been engaged with the media for 30-some years. And so typically the media, even at the local level, is left of center. It's just they're corporate, or they come from a journalism school that just teaches things from a left of center perspective. And so you're always fighting an uphill battle when it comes to getting your messaging out. Can you speak to that? Or?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Tom. And I would say it's even worse than that. I mean, particularly, obviously, the major papers, the Herald Leader, the Courier Journal, they are completely captured by the far left. We're up at the Capitol every day, and there's, a number of media reporters, and there's some fine reporters that do a good job, but everything they share is slanted from a leftist worldview. I mean, it just time and time again, whether it's, the battle to protect children from being mutilated in the name of gender ideology, whether it was the battle to save women's sports and to protect our female athletes and the battle to protect the preborn, every news article that you will see that comes from the mainstream media is slanted from the other side. And it takes, it uses language, it co-ops language, whether it be, disregarding the reality that there's male and female and dealing with the issue that it's impossible for a man to identify as a woman, for example. We see the confusion in language even in the reporting for the other side. And it's so important for truth to be championed. Tom, you know this. I mean, ultimately, right, the media should be designed to seek the truth and to share that. And the legacy mainstream media has been failing at that for years. And so that is why it's so important that we continue to raise up new voices, and why, the Family Foundation and myself, we're excited to continue to partner with Kentucky's Voice.
Yeah, and we're excited to have the Family Foundation and yourself working with us, because you've been on the front lines of the good fight in this state for years, and one of the key voices that helps move the conservative cause in this state. And so we have about 30 seconds left in this segment, so we'll be right back with David Walls and the Family Foundation. We're asking for your support. This is the Share-a-thon for Kentucky's Voice. You can text 502-571-0970, text the word GIVE, or you can go to the QR code on the screen, or kyvoice.org. We could use your help, and this is the way we fight back, folks. Trump isn't going to save us. You're going to save us. You're going to save us by stepping up and doing it at the grassroots level. So we'll be right back.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
All right, yes, this populist pushback, this conservative pushback, this MAGA movement, this is all grassroots, right? This is all from the people. This is bottom up. And it's by nature. It's because all the institutions on both the left and the right, which we've traditionally considered institutions that were more right-leaning, they've all been co-opted. They've all been co-opted by the globalists, by the left-wingers, by socialists, by the woke, and so it's left up to us because the majority of Americans don't want that stuff. This has been a top-down revolution. This has been forced down our throats. And so the only way to push back is to do what we're doing here, is to do a grassroots effort to push back and to vote in people like Donald Trump or like, more conservative populist sort of candidates. But in order to do that, we have to inform people that these are the issues, and here's what this is about. And we've done a pretty good job in this movement at a national level. We haven't done that very well at the local and state level, and that's why we're here. So this program, Kentucky's Voice, is here to bring that movement, that instinct, that perspective to Kentucky politics and local politics, and to restore this nation and to a more traditional American, conservative, Christian, Judeo-Christian worldview and approach to life, which is, at the end of the day, is what works. It's what the country was founded on. we kind of, we had a pretty good thing until the past 50, 60 years until we went off the rails. And so, anyway, we have a guest today with David Walls with the Family Foundation, who can speak very, very well to that issue that we've kind of went off the rails and culturally. And so, matter of fact, David, yesterday, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, Donald Trump was at the Museum of the Bible and did a executive order and gave a little speech. And I want to play this little clip from the White House about that. I think it kind of speaks well about what can be done with righteous leadership and how we need to help support this locally. So we'll go to this clip.
Thank you to all of the faith leaders, pastors, and patriots who have come to the Museum of the Bible for this historic meeting of the Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty. Under the Trump administration, we're defending our rights and restoring our identity as a nation under God. We will protect the Judeo-Christian principles of our founding. I am delighted to announce that just moments ago, I have personally delivered the Trump Family Bible given to me by my mother. It was used in both my inaugurations and will now be displayed right in the heart of our nation's capital. That's an honor. For most of our country's history, the Bible was found in every classroom in the nation. Yet in many schools today, students are instead indoctrinated with anti-religious propaganda, and some are even punished for their religious beliefs. I'm pleased to announce this morning that the Department of Education will soon issue new guidance protecting the right to prayer in our public schools. And I created the first ever Department of Justice task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias. America has always been a nation that believes in the power of prayer, and we will never apologize for our faith, ever. Together we will make our country greater, stronger, more united, and more faithful than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Beautiful stuff. God bless Donald Trump. That's all I can say. That's just a guidance or guideline that he said that they're putting down. So this isn't law. This doesn't change the way classrooms have to be operated. So there's still things that need to be done at the local level. But David, what are your thoughts on his?
Look, I'm incredibly thankful for the President Trump's Commission on Religious Liberty, a number of national renowned experts that we are blessed here at the Family Foundation to get to work with, some leaders of some of our national allies. But look, religious liberty is our most foundational freedom. It is the basis of all other freedoms. It's the reason why it is protected in the First Amendment first, because it's our most foundational freedom. So this is incredibly important. And this also brings to mind, Tom, that recent exchange that's kind of gone viral with Senator Tim Kaine and Senator Ted Cruz, where Senator Kaine literally doesn't understand the founding of this country and made the argument that somehow it's a scary idea that our rights come from God, not from government. This debate is continuing to rage right now at the national level, but Tom, it's happening right here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky as we sit here right now. There are ongoing debates on Bible instruction in public schools. Right now in Oldham County, we helped support a piece of legislation this last legislative session that made it even more clear how you can do an off-campus Bible instruction program through the public school system. It's separate from the public school system, optional, but this right has been protected since the 1950s when the Supreme Court upheld this. And so now you've got some local parents in Oldham County and other places across Kentucky that are looking to partner with LifeWise Academy, which is a Christian ministry that does these Bible instruction programs off campus. And you're seeing some of these same tired arguments that are being made by editorials in the Courier Journal and from other organizations saying, oh, this is a violation of the separation of church and state. Well, that's just utter nonsense. These programs are foundationally protected. Parents have a right to direct the religious upbringing of their children, even when they're in the public school system.
That's right.
And these programs have tremendous benefit, not just in terms of the religious and moral instruction, but the kids that participate in these programs do better academically. They do better in terms of their behavior. So there's a lot of reasons why these are important programs. But I bring this up, Tom, because this is a debate that's happening right now.
Right now.
And if folks were go to our website at KentuckyFamily.org, if you live in Oldham County, you can send a message to the school board and tell them, hey, let's approve this program and give parents the opportunity to allow their children to participate in one of these programs. But as we were talking about, Tom, in the previous segment, what's happening at the national level is echoing these ongoing battles that are happening at the local level, and we need to collectively amplify the voice and come alongside and stand with grassroots and with parents in local communities that simply want to exercise their God-given rights.
That's right, exactly. And very often you wouldn't even hear about this story that's going on in Oldham County in your local area if it wasn't for outlets like this. Because, earlier we were talking about just the bias of the news media. Very often it's not even just the way they write the story, because we think of bias as, they have a perspective the way they're writing the story. Well, a lot of times it's not even just that, it's just what stories they choose to cover. To a lot of people that are more left of center, they may think this story in Oldham County, that's boring. That issue's been dealt with. That's a separation of church and state. We know that's going to be dealt with. Whatever, ignore that. It's not a controversy. So it's never covered. So people that are concerned about that issue, that want to help move. I keep using move the needle. It should be a drinking game. Every time Tom says move the needle, take a shot of not whiskey, but something kosher. But at the end of the day, what stories are covered are just as important as how the story's covered. And that's what this project's about. And so Kentucky's Voice is a grassroots project where you can support how these stories are covered, because we promise we will cover things like this. We'll bring on folks like David Walls, who are championing the cause for parents' rights and religious liberties in school. But we need your help. We have 1 minute left in this segment, but we're going to go ahead and make the pitch one more time. Here's how to help. We need you to go to your phone. You can either text 502-571-0970, text the word give, or you can go to the screen and hit the QR code that's on the screen. Use your camera on your phone and do your QR code thing, and it takes you to the Kentucky's Voice website where you can choose to give there. Our goal is to raise $10,000 today, and and pledges, and not just today, but it could be pledges. It could be people that maybe want to give $20 a month, $100 a month, whatever it takes. We just need your help, and this is how we turn things around. It's you. It's not up to Trump. It's not up to the Republican Party or some rich donor. It's you. It's grassroots effort. This is what's made this movement great, and let's extend this movement to Kentucky and through Kentucky's Voice. So we appreciate you watching. We'll be right back with more David Walls with the Family Foundation.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, our share-a-thon we're having today. We encourage you to text or go to the website or even, I think you can even call that number as well. And there's a QR code on the screen as well. And so we need your support. This is how we push back and change things in the state. Is we do it through media, through informing everyone about issues that are of concern to you. And of course, unless you've been under a rock, you realize we've been in a cultural war for the past probably 50 or so years, but it really came to a head in this past decade with the whole woke movement and just everything that goes under the woke, umbrella, LGBT movement, feminism, social justice, racial social justice policies, all this stuff that's been so toxic and so forced down your throat, and so how do you push back on things like this? Well, you first of all don't feel like we need to create a media that informs people that think like you and I, that are not that way, that are traditional Americans, and so that we can feel like we're not alone. That's one thing that the left and the elites and the institutions want to do, is just try to convince you that you're just you're sort of out of step with the mainstream now. You're sort of this person that, you don't believe that two men should get married, or you don't believe a man can become a woman. Well, then you're kind of not really part of the mainstream now. You're kind of no. They're on the fringes. They're the folks that are so fringe, but they're trying to push this stuff along. And so programs like this and efforts like what Kentucky's Voice helps elevate your voice to the mainstream and remind people that we are the mainstream. A boy cannot be a girl. All right. We're not going to let women in men's sports or vice versa, men in women's sports, but either way. And so So this is what we're about. And we're here to make a change at the local level, the level that actually impacts you more than anybody else. And so, David, we were talking about. We have David Wallace with the Family Foundation. If you're just joining us, David, we were talking about religious liberty in this past segment, and so much of this culture war revolves. Builds around that. If you don't have a freedom to live out your faith in every institution of life, from schooling to work to, just social media, even people being canceled for saying, I disagree with that perspective. Lose your account, or debanked. If we don't fight that fight, and anyway, speak to that issue and just religious liberty.
Yeah, as I said before, it is the most foundational of our freedoms, and it's why it's so important, why we're thankful for what President Trump is doing, and it's why, here at the Family Foundation, standing for religious liberty, working to strengthen our religious liberty protections at the state level. That includes, legislation, a resolution that was passed this last session that is going to lead to the restoration of the Ten Commandments monument at the Kentucky Capitol.
Awesome.
But we need to work to do that in the classrooms as well. And we've seen a number of states that are working towards restoring the Ten Commandments into the classroom. And we know there's been legal challenges for that. But, the legal landscape has really changed. And I have to just mention, Tom, a couple weeks ago, I was blessed to get to guest host this program. And my guest with me was Coach Joe Kennedy, who Coach Kennedy was the football coach that was fired for simply praying in a football game. And went all the way up to the United States Supreme Court and won a monumental Supreme Court victory for religious liberty that's really helping restore religious liberty across the country. And Coach Kennedy will be our keynote speaker at our upcoming Kentucky Family Forum on Saturday, September 27th in Lexington. And folks can visit our website at kentuckyfamily.org to learn more about that. But we're going to have a specific panel at that event focused on religious liberty issues. We're going to be, obviously, folks will be able to hear from Coach Kennedy, but folks will also be able to hear from State Representative T.J. Roberts, who listeners of this program have probably heard of and heard from. But Representative Roberts in Northern Kentucky has just been a great champion for religious liberty, and it actually filed a bill this last legislative session to help strengthen Kentucky's existing Religious Freedom Restoration Act to ensure that we're giving proper state-level protections for our most foundational freedom. And that bill did not get across the finish line this legislative session earlier this year, but that's going to be a key issue that we're going to continue to work and advocate on because, again, without the ability to not just practice our religion in terms of, in church. The founders had a much broader view of that. And we know this. This is about our ability to believe, think, and speak and exercise our freedoms in society. Yeah. Coming from a Christian perspective, our ability to be the salt and light in culture that the Lord Jesus Christ has ultimately called us to do. And that's why, again, that's why the Family Foundation exists. We put information out to equip Christians and social conservatives to be able to be involved in their government and to take a stand. And it's why, again, I'll come back to why the Kentucky's Voice is so important, to give another growing voice to Christian conservatives, social conservatives, grassroots conservatives to talk about these important issues. As you said, Tom, they're just not going to get talked about or from the mainstream media. Or if they do, I'm sure if we went and looked at the mainstream media's coverage of President Trump's recent announcement at the Religious Liberty Commission that he's going to look at an executive order to ensure that the right to pray is protected in schools, I can already predict what the talking points from the other side is. Right. Oh, this is Christian nationalism. Separation of church and state. Exactly. Oh, what in the world does religion and the Bible have to do with school? Right. Well, let's just back this train up just a little bit. Right. I mean, the Bible was the foundational teaching document in our public school system not that long ago. The idea that you can teach the next generation, that you can educate people separate from the truths that are in God's Word was a foreign concept up until the last 50 or 60 years. And I think as a culture, we are seeing the results of removing God from the public square and specifically from our public school system. So you better believe that it's going to be important for here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky at the local level and at the state level to continue to work to restore a proper understanding of religious liberty and to give faith its proper place in our society, because it's a benefit to Kentuckians and it's a benefit to all people.
Exactly right. Tell you what, let me show you the results of what's happened over the past 20 years. Mr. Producer, if you can pull this up on the screen. This is a chart that I found recently about the percentage of adults that are identifying as LGBT, and they break it out by generation, and they break it out over the past 10 years or so. And if you look at this chart, if you're listening about radio, I'll go through it. Basically, in 2014, the highest percentage generational group that identified as LGBT was maybe 6%, and that was millennials, right? It goes up a bit in 2017. Then 2020, they started tracking Gen Z. Well, Gen Z suddenly starts identifying it as LGBT. That could be anything. It could be, same-sex attraction and bisexual, trans, whatever. The whole gamut of that universe of LGBT stuff. Up to 16% in 2020. Now, Gen Z is identifying at 20% LGBT. That is okay. So first of all, if that was a immutable characteristic, like you were born a certain race or born a certain sex or gender, then this chart wouldn't make any sense. But if it is a social contagion brought on by influences from school, from media, then this chart makes perfect sense, because over the past decade or so, we've been inundated by the messaging of the left and of the elites and of the LGBT movement saying that, hey, this is a lifestyle that's really trendy and you should try it out, and you should, maybe if you've ever considered these things, you ought to, just actually you're now an elevated, you're a special person. You're looked at as something really wonderful if you live this lifestyle. So a lot of young people are falling into this, especially young women. A lot of young women are getting involved in this, and it's just obviously a social contagion. So when it comes to the religious liberty argument, how does that play out? Well, at the end of the day, somebody's religion is going to get taught. It's a myth that that you can have this secular public square. There's no secular public square. Somebody's religion is going to get taught. And whose religion has been taught over the past 20, 30, 40 years? It's been the religion of the far left and the secularist and this, which is really a religious worldview. The LGBT movement is a religious worldview. They're making statements about the nature of man and our existential issues. So it's a myth that, all these religious people, separation of church and state. Well, it's just the opposite. The whole effort to push our voice out of the mainstream, out of schools, out of media, it's just an effort to replace our religious worldview with their religious worldview. And so now the question is, we got a choice as Americans, as a society, which worldview is true, first of all, and which should we follow? And we firmly believe, we're convicted that the Judeo-Christian worldview, what this country was founded on, is what we should follow. Now, or you say, you're trying to create a theocracy. Well, you're trying to create a theocracy. You just created a theocracy with your LGBT movement. What is that? You're saying I can't practice my faith in order so that you can practice your faith. So somebody's faith is going to rule here. And so we need to think through these issues on a different level. And I applaud the Family Foundation for everything you've done in this state to help move the needle. Said it again, move the needle on an issue like this. But Rick, we got about 60 seconds left. Just that chart. Are we in a social contagion moment right now?
Absolutely. It is a social contagion. And look, what you said is absolutely true. There's no neutrality. There are two competing worldviews that are at play here, and we're seeing it play out in every area of society. We're seeing it play out at the federal level, at the state level, in our local communities, in our schools. And as Christians, as citizens that care about the future of our country and of our Commonwealth, we're called to engage and to not be embarrassed about it, because we are fighting for the truth. We have answers that will help people to the big questions of the day. And so we should be unashamed, unapologetic in standing for truth in this culture.
That's well said. Well, so when we ran back, this is the Kentucky's Voice Share-a-thon. We encourage you to participate. 571-0970, text the word GIVE, or go to the QR code on the screen.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
To Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall Fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
All right, welcome back to the show. Kentucky's Voice. We're doing a share-a-thon today, and we are actually helping. We're doing fundraising. That's bottom line, folks. We're asking you to help us. This project is a listener-supported, viewer-supported project. It requires seed funding to get this thing moving, get it off the ground. Doing news, covering local issues, doing commentary programming like this is not cheap. We have to have a studio. We have to have people to produce this. We have to have got to pay for the airtime. There's things that it just costs what they cost. And at this point, the advertising income does not offset the cost that this program has, because at this point it's still a little bit new, it's a little bit niche. The audience isn't as large as, say, WDRB's News at 6 or something, and but it soon will be. And as a matter of fact, that's part of our vision, is to have a local newscast every night that runs around the state that will cover issues just like a regular newscast. And so, but we're starting off with more news and commentary programming like this, like what you're watching and what you're hearing. But the eventual goal is to go statewide with a nightly news show that's just doing hard news, just covering, hey, U of L UK sports, and is there a conservative perspective on there? Well, let's talk about gender ideology in sports. Maybe there is a perspective on cultural issues even in sports these days, and so. But so anyway, so we need your support. 502-571-0970. Text the word give or go to the QR code on your screen. Use your camera on your phone and just click on that and bam, go right to our website. Or go to our website, kyvoice.org. And we're asking for $20 a month, $30 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever you can give, $5 a month. We don't care. Just support us and help us and really be part of the battle. You know, many hands make the work light, and so even small gifts are very much appreciated. And listen, if we don't do it, I love Donald Trump, love President Trump, but Big Daddy Trump isn't going to come save us. He's going to do what he can, but he needs everyone, because he's basically a representative of a grassroots effort. Well, that grassroots needs to keep moving, keep supporting these issues, and this is how you can do it here locally. So, okay. We have David Walls with us with the Family Foundation. We were talking in the last segment about the, just the whole woke movement, the LGBT movement, and how religious liberty is so important, because at the end of the day, the only group that has religious liberty in schools and in life and in culture has been the LGBT movement. They are a religious movement. They make religious claims about human sexuality and about the way we should live in this world and about the nature of human beings. That all their claims are religious, existential claims, and so they're the only ones that have had a voice in our culture and in the schools. And it's time. Mr. Producer, I'm going to put up another meme here. I got this off Twitter. It's talking about the slippery slope. And David, I'd love to hear your comments on this. If you can, Mr. Producer, you're going to put this up on the screen. And so the slippery slope. And so it started off with, just let us get married. That's all we want. Then we start sliding down the hill a little bit further. Now just bake our cake, and that's all we want. Just bake our cake and make our flowers. And if you don't do that, then we'll be upset. Okay. Now it's just use our pronouns. Just make sure you call us they or her or he or whatever. All these weird pronouns. Just do that. Now we want you to let us dance and drag for your children. Now we're down to we went from gay marriage now to let's dance, drag in front of your children. Now let teachers choose your kid's gender. Now we're at that level now. Let's let the teachers choose whether your boy should be called a boy or a girl. And then now it's let us buy infants from surrogates. Let same-sex couples do basically the Handmaid's Tale and hire a handmaid to have a baby. They always call us the Handmaid Tale. The conservatives that we're trying to bring in this dystopia where they're the ones doing it now. They're the ones. They might as well take their surrogates and put a red dress on them, and they've got handmaids. These gay couples that want to do this. Now the last step is we're here. Here we are in the moment. The demons are telling me to kill Christians. That's where we are right now. And because if you look at all these trans shootings, because all this trans ideology has encouraged people that are really just mentally unstable, spiritually unwell, that they're victims, and the opponents and the oppressors are people like you or I, David, that are conservative, traditional Americans, religious Americans. We're their oppressor, and all their mental instability and their anger and their anguish and the hormones they're taking and all these crazy drugs they're taking are telling them that act out. And this is so. There we go. And it's demonic too. On top of that, so David, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the slippery slope there.
Yeah. Well, Tom, you've painted a picture that we know that the Bible teaches us, which is that sin begets more sin. We read it in Romans 1. It talks about, the depraved mind that has rejected the truth of God, that sinful humanity will invent essentially new ways of doing evil, building evil on top of evil. And I think that's why it's so important for us to kind of look at the slippery slope, because I remember, it was just a little over 10 years ago that the Obergefell decision that invented a so-called right to same-sex marriage that undermined state laws like here in Kentucky, our state constitution, where 75% of Kentucky voters went and voted to affirm the truth about marriage.
That's right.
It rejected all of that and said, we're going to put the wants and desires of some individuals and invent this right. And so a lot of folks have kind of gone along with that line of argument, even some Republicans in the time since then. But now we look back and say, what did I sign up for mutilating children in the name of gender ideology? Right. Did I sign up for, as we saw at WKU at the end of last year, drag performers, presumably at taxpayer expense, doing a performance on campus with pictures of 4 and 5-year-old girls participating with the performer? Vile content that's being shared in our libraries and education materials that are seeking to indoctrinate kids to tell a child that their biological sex is assigned to them by their doctor after birth. Yeah. Did we sign up for all of this?
Yeah, or the violation of religious liberties. I don't want to bake this cake for your gay wedding. I'm sorry, I'm a Christian. I don't support that. Oh, I'm sorry, you go to jail now, Mr. Christian. And so...
You're referencing Jack Phillips, who has had to fight time and time again in the state of Colorado, as many others have, to simply just be able to conduct their business in alignment with their values and their Christian faith. So I think we're at a moment. I think we're at a cultural tipping point where a lot of folks are taking a second look at what some of this harmful ideology that they may have allowed themselves to buy into.
That's right.
And we need to be asking ourselves, as grassroots conservatives, the church, how do we take advantage of this opportunity where folks are starting to go, no, I didn't sign up for that. No, a man can't become a woman. No, it's not appropriate to teach these things to my child or grandchild, and to point people back to more foundational truths. And it starts with getting the truth out, with talking about these stories. So I'm going to bring it back to why, again, the Family Foundation exists. And folks can go to our website at KentuckyFamily.org and sign up for our email alerts and action alerts in our Kentucky Citizen publication that we do free of charge. But it's also why it's so important that the Kentucky Voice exists and continues to grow and expand its influence, so that there's other channels, avenues on radio, on TV. And Tom, continue to be excited about the vision that you're casting, that your team and others are casting about what this could look like to have a true grassroots conservative, Christian conservative voice covering the news of the day. So many times, what we find with the work that we do, where we're trying to advocate for God-honoring policies at the state level, is folks say, well, wow, I didn't know that was actually going on. If I knew that was going on, I would have taken action, or I would have supported that, or I would have gotten out and been more vocal in my support of XYZ candidate who had filed that bill and was championing that bill, but I just didn't know. And so I think we're living in a moment and an opportunity, and that's why I encourage listeners, if you're listening right now, hey, prayerfully consider how you could come alongside with Kentucky's Voice and make a donation, even if it's just a small one, to say I'm gonna be bought in. I'm bought in on this enterprise to help provide a conservative alternate voice to the mainstream media that simply just doesn't want to talk about most of what you and I, Tom, have talked about for the better part of an hour. They certainly wouldn't want to talk about it from the perspective that we have talked about.
Yeah, and to your point, there's a hunger for this conversation right now, beyond just the conservative movement. I mean, beyond just people like you or I that have been immersed in this our whole lives, and we kind of follow this closely. But like you said, the average person has been awakened to the kind of the excesses of the far left, of the woke ideology, of the LGBT ideology. They started coming for the kids, and that just kind of woke everybody up. There's a term on the internet called the normies, people that are just living their everyday life. They're not really connected into the political world. They're just the guys and gals that just want to come home, have a grill out on the weekends, watch the game, and not really wired into politics. They're kind of wigged out about it right now. They're going, this is really strange. I went to my kid's school, and this teacher's used to be a girl, and now they're a guy, and you got these pride flags in my classroom. My kids are coming home and telling me weird things about their pronouns and all this stuff. I'm kind of weirded out. What is going on? So now we have a chance now to actually reach people with a different perspective on this, because they haven't gotten that perspective. The only perspective you've heard of the past 20, 30 years has been the will and grace, propaganda, or every movie that you see in Hollywood there's some storyline where it's a gay superhero or in the oppressive traditional Christian person who's out of step, and the only message they've heard is that. And so now, so there's an opportunity now if you support a program like this, we can help reach beyond just this group that we're used to connected with. As conservatives, we can reach beyond that movement, reach the broader culture, because they're hungry for this information now. They're woken up. Use the term woke, but they're woken up to the problems of woke, and we can help reach out. So, David, we got 30 seconds left. Thanks for being on the show today. And I want to shout out again to the Family Foundation. The work you guys do is amazing. Follow what they do there. Go to familyfoundation.org. Is that right? Family Foundation?
KentuckyFamily.org.
That's it, KentuckyFamily.org. Got it. It sounds good. Thanks for joining us today, David. And
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate your work. And 502-571-0970. Type the word give. We'll be right back in this next hour with my special guest, Bob Scott. And we'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice.
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, no rest for the weary here. Right back to the next segment. So, Tom Fallbush, we are back, and we're watching Kentucky's Voice. This is the second hour. We're doing a special share-a-thon this week, and we're going to have, I think, Bob Scott on with us sometime this hour, and he's not with us yet. Well, somebody text him, let him know he's supposed to be on right now. Come on, Bob. There we go. It's all good. Now, I think you probably realize we're starting a few minutes late. But anyway, thanks for watching the show today and supporting us. Like I said, this project is a listener-supported project. This will not happen. We cannot help change the narrative and cover issues and stories in this state and this Commonwealth and in the Louisville area from a conservative perspective without your support. And the reason why is there's not a large enough audience here for advertising alone to cover the cost of actually producing local content on a daily basis like this. Not yet. It will be. We will be as we build this. When we get a larger audience, when we become more of a mainstream news alternative in this state, then advertising dollars can help offset a lot of this. But until then, it takes some seed faith, some seed funding, and seed faith. You can tell where I'm coming from. I'm from a religious broadcasting background, so we talk about seed faith a lot and religious broadcasting. But this is really a faith issue as well. We're fighting the good fight, both politically and culturally, and I think we're doing kingdom work here. If you know what I mean. If you're a Christian, you understand that. And so. So this is how you help. You help support us to cover these issues, to inform the public, to inform folks like yourself what's going on in this state, in this Commonwealth. We get plenty of news about what happens on the national level. We've got outlets like Fox News, if you still watch them. Some people don't. They're not MAGA enough for most people, not for me anyway. But you got folks like Real America's Voice or OAN. You've got The Blaze, Daily Wire. You got Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, all these great voices that cover news on a national level. But they don't. But nobody's covering anything locally from a conservative perspective, except for groups like us, because somebody needs to do it, and we thought, well, we've got a TV station, we've got a radio station. Let's go ahead and if we have the mantle here, we've got a little bit of little resources we can put into this. Let's do it, and shame on us if we don't, because we're patriotic Americans, just like you are. We love this country, we love this Commonwealth, we love our families, we love our neighbors. And we want to see us thrive as a community and as a society. And if you don't step up and engage right now, then we're going to get washed over by these globalists, by these elitists, by these left-wingers, these socialists, these woke activists. Their worldview, their religion, their ideas are going to dominate, and we're just going to be victims of that. And we're just going to have to go along or get canceled or get debanked and watch your, we were talking about last hour about the whole LGBT movement and how, they're actually, in California, if say your kid wants to go trans and you don't want that to happen, they have rules now. They have laws now where they can take your kid away. This is really happening in America. If you don't, your kid wants to identify as, it's a girl, he wants to identify as a boy, and you don't support that. You don't want to give him hormone treatment. You don't want to give him surgery. We're going to take your kid away. You're abusing your child for not letting him go trans. That's where we're at, right? And so if you don't fight back against that stuff, that's what's coming. They're coming after your kids. And if that hasn't been made clear enough in this culture in the past 10 years about they're coming for your kids, then you're just under a rock and you're blind. And so we got to push back, and it ain't going to happen from the top down. It's going to be bottom up, because it's the bottom. It's the grassroots like you or I that really still believe the truth. For some reason, like the more affluent, the more elite you go, the more college you go to, the more brainwashed you become, more leftist you become, and it's tragic. Anyway, appreciate you joining us today. Kentucky's Voice Share-a-thon. We need your support. 502-571-0970, 502-0970. Text the word GIVE, or go to kyvoice.org, or there's a QR code on the screen. You can click on that. Somebody asked in a text if we're nonprofit. We are a nonprofit, so all your donations are tax deductible. We're a 501c3. So we'll be right back.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
All right. Welcome back to the program, Kentucky's Voice, the Share-a-thon. We're having all this week where you can support Kentucky's Voice and help make a difference in this state and in this Commonwealth and in your city and in your wherever you live locally in the state of Kentucky and even Southern Indiana as well. We have some really strong supporters in Southern Indiana. We really appreciate their support, those that have given. And so Kentucky's Voice, if you haven't heard what this is about, maybe you've heard this program flipping through the dial, or maybe you've seen it on television. What this program is and what this effort is, it is a news organization that we've created to cover news and politics and things of that nature, but from a conservative perspective, and specifically issues that impact the state and local level. And so, we have the Fox Newses of the world, we have the Daily Wires, the Blaze, the Charlie Kirks, we used to have Rush Limbaugh, God rest his soul, but people, there are conservative talk radio out there but that's all generally national, right? It's national issues, national topics, and but no one's covering things locally, from that perspective, except until now, until and really what happens locally impacts you more than what happens nationally. Who your governor is, who the school board member is, who your local state legislator, state senator, who your mayor is, right? Who your mayor is impacts you more in your day-to-day life than who the senator of Georgia is, or what little congressman is out in California is doing. And so, but the way we we influence local politics. We have to be informed. We have to know what's going on. We have to know when there's an issue that's of important that we need to act on. We encourage people to call their legislature or to either support or push back on the issues. And so, how do you do that? There's no media that's really covering it, especially a media that doesn't cover it from a conservative perspective or a worldview that you appreciate. And so, well, you have that now. We have that now. So now we can coalesce around issues. We can help. I'm going to use this term again. I use it a lot. We can move the needle on some issues because we have enough support around a topic, and where legislatures and politicians have to respond because suddenly people are aware of what's going on in Oldham County about some religious liberty issue. Now suddenly people are going to vote the right way. Oh, Bob Scott. Bob Scott's with us. Bob Scott is with us this hour. I want to bring him up. Bob, welcome back to the program, and you've been out for a week, and so we're just really glad to have you back. We love your brother, and we had a good first hour, but we're talking Kentucky's Voice and why people should support Kentucky's Voice. So what is your elevator pitch when you talk about Kentucky's Voice to somebody?
Yeah, and I've had a chance to give it a few times over the last week and a half or so. We flew into San Antonio, Texas, my wife, myself, and my youngest son, to watch our oldest son graduate from Officer Tech School down in San Antonio. Then we rented a car and basically drove him up to his base in Montana over about a 4 or 5 day period. And through that whole process, we had a chance to visit a lot of our national parks and really get a feel for what makes America great, who we are, as a people. And I could tell you, Tom, as we were doing that, it gave me a chance to really reflect on what we're doing with Kentucky's Voice and how critically important it is, especially when you get out west. And again, it was wonderful. I mean, the trip of a lifetime, no doubt about it.
Love it out there.
But, at the end of the day, we are doing something very special here. We actually stopped and visited and met some great state legislators in Montana. Just an absolutely wonderful experience and great people. Very similar to our stopped and visited and met some great state legislators in Montana. Very similar to our state.
Yeah.
Much so, except they have a Republican governor. We don't. Hopefully that'll change next election cycle.
Well, if we do our job,
if we do our job, and that's the whole point.
If listeners at home will do their job,
yes.
Change. Yeah.
And I was telling them about Kentucky's Voice, and what we're doing here, and they were so intrigued. And there was 4 of them, and they were getting ready to go to a committee meeting. But they were asking more questions. We had a chance to really sit and explain the concept of Kentucky's Voice and what we're doing. And they said, boy, that would be great if we had something like that here, There
we go.
And again, arguably, you could even argue a little bit more of a conservative state than we are, So what we have here, to the listener is something very, very special, And we do need that. We don't do these fundraisers that often, but when we do, we're doing it for a reason. We need you to step forward and give a gift. Give a gift. We're asking this hour to either do a one-time $1,000 gift, and that might seem like a ton of money, but there are some of you that have that kind of money that could do that. That wouldn't be a big deal, or just do $100 a month over the next 10 months. It's absolutely critical. We need you. We need you, and you. And I'd argue backward. Kentucky needs us. Because there is no other voice, none, that's doing what Kentucky's Voice is doing right now in this Commonwealth. So if you would please pick up the phone and text us at 502-571-0970. Again, 502-571-0970. Or if you just have something you'd like to share with us, feel free to do so. Yeah. But again, this is about you. This isn't necessarily about us. It's about you and bringing good Christian conservative media to this area, to our state. Our vision is to take this statewide. Right now, we're broadcasting boldly here in the Louisville area, but more and more people are hearing about what we're doing. But we need you to become a part of the Kentucky team, so to speak. So if you would, the Kentucky Voice team, pick up that phone again, 502-571-0970. Again,
text
502
the word give. When you text, I think primarily our way of supporting this is a text method. So hopefully you have text, and you can text 502-571-0970. But text the word give and when you're texting that number, that will you'll get a auto response and a way to then go and actually do a donation. Or you can go to our website, kyvoice.org, or there's a QR code on the screen that you can use your phone and just if you click. But if you're listening by radio, it's 502-571-0970. Text the word give. Sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
No, and I was going to say, if you don't have $100 a month right now that you commit, then what about 50? Any gift, 25. It all makes a difference. And I will tell you, every penny that you give to this organization, we are plowing it back into good, fertile soil and making a difference, here in the Commonwealth. Where else can you go? I'm just going to ask you the question. Where can you go and hear good, local, Christian conservative thought like you can here on Kentucky's Voice? We had David Walls on the last hour. He's absolutely phenomenal. Andrew Cooper-Ryder, Dr. Lance Pearson. The list goes on and on and on.
And the newsmakers, Bob, and the newsmakers. Friday we had Thomas Massey. We're going to have Nate Morris on here soon.
Yes.
We're actually going to do, this is something we haven't announced yet on the air, but I'm going to tease everybody now. We're working up a debate, a Senate primary debate, and we hope to have all the candidates for the Senate that are going to try to replace McConnell's seat. We're going to try to do a debate here in the spring. We're in the process of organizing that, and so beyond just doing a local show, commentary show, we're going to start creating news. We're going to be news creators beyond just news commentators. And so, and to your point, Bob, we want to go statewide. People do watch us on the internet through Twitter and Facebook and YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the state.
That's very true.
However, on broadcast, we're going to start picking up more radio stations and television stations, and so we're going to use every medium to get this out. So this is just really the one initial stage of what we're trying to do. There's several more phases of the growth of this. And to your point, Bob, not a lot of states have this. There are a couple of states that have some new statewide conservative things, but they're usually larger states like Texas or Florida or even Tennessee that they just have more support, more people there. For a state this size, we're probably the only group doing something like this for a state this size. And so this is special, but we need your support. And like I said, it's a grassroots effort. This is grassroots news effort, and because Nexstar and all these national companies that run all the TV and radio stations here in this state and the newspapers, they're all corporate. They're all kind of pushing the DEI stuff or the whole corporate pressures to be more left of center. We're locally owned. We're Kentuckians. We're from the grassroots. We're all believers here. We're gonna share with you the truth because that's just who we are. And so we'll be right back with Bob Scott and Kentucky's Voice. And 502-571-0970. Text the word give.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
All right, welcome back to the program, Kentucky's Voice. This is our special Share-a-thon week, and we're asking for support for folks that actually appreciate what we're doing and appreciate us covering the news from a conservative perspective. We need your support. This isn't. We can't do this just with advertising dollars alone. We need seed funding to help get this off the ground and get it to the point where advertising will pay for it, and maybe subscriptions will then pay for it. But at this point, it's still we need to seed fund this and get it off the ground. So this is a nonprofit effort. We're a nonprofit news organization, Kentucky's Voice. So all your donations are tax deductible, and we're doing a fundraiser all this week. And here's how to give. You get your phone, type 502-571-0970, type the word give, or go to our QR code that's on the screen there. You can get your phone out with your camera, click on that, or you go to kyvoice.org, and you click on the donate button, and we'll get into why we need that here in a second. But we're asking for a one-time gift today. We're asking for one-time gifts of $1,000. Or we're asking for $100 gifts over the year, which would also add up to $1,000. Our goal today, we're trying to get about $10,000 in pledges today, and that will help us reach our goal for today. And Bob, and here's why this is important. If we don't do this, others will do it, but they'll do it from the other side. And so let me pull this up real quick, Mr. Producer, if we can. I'll show you what's happening in our state as many people know. There we go. Mr. Andy Beshear, Governor Beshear. There's his little podcast.
Welcome to episode 22 of the Andy Beshear podcast, and we start off with a huge, enormous announcement. The Andy Beshear podcast is now a part of the Sirius XM podcast network. That's right. We're a part of the Sirius XM family.
Now we'll stop there. So there we go. Andy Beshear using new media to launch his presidential bid, of course. That's what apparently all the Democrat wannabes, they figure they better get into the podcasting space to get their voice out there. So Gavin Newsom's doing it, of course Beshear's doing it, but the point is, if you're not engaged in media, if your voice isn't in the media ecosystem, whether it be broadcast or a Sirius XM, which is really a broadcast medium, or the internet through social media, YouTube, and all that. If you're not engaged with messaging, then you're out. You're out. You lose. Because this is an information war, and that's why we're here, to fight the good fight, to hold our values, which are traditional American, conservative, Christian, Republican, I guess in a MAGA sense, values, and. Yeah, there we go. The picture we just pulled up there. No Kings. King Andy is doing his podcast. We got to call it the King Andy podcast. But yeah, this is why. If we don't do it, King Andy's going to get his voice out there, and your voice is not going to get heard. So, and Bob, that's why we call it Kentucky's Voice. We want it to be Kentucky's voice being shared. That's
I love the name of this particular fundraiser, We the People. The preamble to our Constitution.
Yeah.
And we're not a Republican voice. We're not a Democrat voice. We're a voice, a conservative Christian voice. We hope for the conservative Christian values of the majority, the plurality of folks in our state. And again, I said at the last segment, we don't do this that often. But when we do it, we really need people to step forward and help us and make a donation to this very worthwhile cause. I was sharing too that I had just come in from a trip out west, and there aren't very many things like this that are going on. And you think about it, we are a nonprofit, as Tom said. Andy Beshear has the Democrat machine behind him. He's got millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that's backing his, in my opinion, misguided effort to become president of the United States, and God help us if that were to ever happen. And that's my whole point. It's very important for people like us, people like you, to be able to stand in the gap, step forward, and start speaking truth, to a dark world. There's a lot of people out there, Tom, that don't know who Andy Beshear is, that he's not some little, homegrown, homespun guy that likes to run around with a Mr. Rogers sweater on,
right.
wearing
his religion on his sleeve,
and wearing the religion on the sleeve.
Yeah.
He is a bona fide leftist liberal. We had at the start of the show, the segment, we had the No Kings thing up, and where Andy actually set the tone, of his administration by inviting in a group of drag queens, and not just drag queens. We're talking about really far, far, far left drag queens in groups to come into our state capitol. And he let them know right up front where he stood, and that he was standing with them, not with the values and the people of the state of Kentucky, but that's where he was standing. Now, obviously, since then, he's backed down a little bit, but not a whole lot. Just about every good moral piece of legislation that has been brought forth by our state legislature, Andy has vetoed it. Fortunately, there is a supermajority in the state Senate and also the House of Representatives in our state. They were able to easily override those vetoes, but he hasn't changed.
Yeah, pull that up, Mr. Producer. I've got that picture.
Is who he is.
That's right. Exactly. It is who he is. And so there we go. Andy Beshear, drag queens, brought this group in. And actually, not only were they drag queens, they're I forgot the name of it. It's like the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence or something. It was some sort of,
you nailed it.
Yeah, some sort of a group that is a mockery of Christianity. They mock Christianity in addition to being drag queens. Brings this group in and say, hi, and I'm going to take a picture with them. I'm the governor. I support this movement. And he hasn't backed away from that. He's still going to all the Pride events. He's still going to all the LGBT dinners and saying this is the most important. And here's what he does. He says, because of my faith compels me to support this stuff. When what faith is this? It's not Christianity. First, it's not biblical faith. It's not something that the Bible would support or Christianity traditionally would support. Yeah, maybe some woke version of Christianity, which is really nothing but just some just made up gobbledygook. But so really, what Andy is, he's a classic example of someone who is has toxic empathy. And has empathy towards movements like this. And he says, oh, my faith requires me to be empathetic and loving and caring, so I'm going to support this movement, and because these are victims and all this. Well, you have to have empathy balanced with truth, and the truth is, you cannot be a boy if you're born as a girl. You cannot be a girl if you're born as a boy. Children should not be indoctrinated with transgender and LGBT ideology. That we are made in the image of God. He created us with these things that are immutable characteristics. These things are truth. So he's taking the truth and ignoring it and saying, my empathy allows me to override that. I'm a better person than you. I'm more empathetic than you. Look at you, hater. But it's like, but Andy, I don't want my kid to be taken away from me because I disagree with their gender ideology. No, I'm more empathetic than you. We're better people than you. So we're going to take your kid away. We're going to go send them to get surgery and change them to another gender and mutilate them. That's our governor. That's our governor. And so the country needs to know about this man and who he is. And so it takes a program like this to highlight that, and because the rest of the country's, they don't know, and they're barely paying attention. So we have 20 seconds left. Okay, that's why we need you to support this program. Kentucky's Voice. You go to 502-571-0970. Text the word GIVE. And we're looking for a $1,000 gift today, and we're also a $100 gift. and or maybe a $15 a month gift, and I'll tell you why after this next segment.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
All right, welcome back to the program. You're listening to Kentucky's Voice. This is our special Share-a-thon week, and this is a special hour where we're extending our program just an extra hour to talk about what we're doing as a project, why it's important to support it, and listen and be part of this movement. We want to be a local, grassroots, activist organization. For example, we want you to be more than just consumers of this news. We want you to be acting on this news. If there are issues that we can help affect and help address by taking action, obviously voting the right way is just the minimum you can do, but calling people, having perspectives on controversial issues that you share with your friends that's important. Just being just so many things that we can do to help you change the culture and the political dynamic in the state. And so, but it all starts with being informed. And so if you're not informed with what's going on, and when it comes to specific things, specific news items and positions and policies in the state, then you're you don't know how to act, you don't know how to move forward. So Kentucky's Voice is here to inform you, arm you to be an activist, to help change things and protect your family and protect this state from the evils of the far left. And speaking of the evils of the far left, Bob Scott, I have Bob Scott joining me today. If you watched the news over the past few weeks, there's been a murder that occurred in Charlotte. And it's getting a lot of attention. I've got a picture you can pull up on the screen here. There's a young woman. She was a Ukrainian refugee, and she came into this train in Charlotte and sat down. And there was I think a homeless man, African American gentleman there. Just soon
I wouldn't call him
down,
a gentleman.
Exactly right, African American person. That as soon as she sat down, he just opened up a knife and stood up and just stabbed her in the neck and killed her for no reason, no rhyme or reason. And what's sad about this is this person has been incarcerated in jail 14 times and had been let out 14 times. And so, and this is happening not only in Charlotte, it's happening in Kentucky, it's happening in Louisville. There, we have terrible policies when it comes to releasing hardened criminals, people that have high recidivism rates, and that's a story we've covered here, and we're trying to bring some pressure to our local government and officials on this issue. We have poor bail policies. You can get out easy, like no cash bails. We've got we have a backlog of cases where people can't even get their case heard, so they get released because they can't even get their case heard. So Louisville has the same problem. This could have happened in Louisville as quickly as Charlotte, because there are people on the streets that are just as unstable, that are just as criminal here in Louisville, that would act out on this kind of stuff. So, Bob, yeah.
Well, listen, we have to also take into the component, the spiritual side of it. This is a battle not just against flesh, but it's spiritual.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
I turn to Ephesians 6, and I've been going there a lot lately because of what's. But I'll share what it talks about, the putting on the armor of God. Finally, be strong in the Lord and His might and His power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle, now listen closely to this, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. So, that's what we want to encourage you, our listener, on this. You are a part of this battle. If you have taken on the name of Jesus and are standing for righteousness in our country, it's time to stop standing on the sidelines, but it's time to actually engage in the battle. And that's where we need you, pure and simple. We the people. It's a plural statement. It's not me the people. It's we the people, and we need you. We need you to step forward right now. Again, we don't do this that often, but when we do, we're doing it because there's a need. And the word talks about, if you have a need, ask. And that's what we're doing right now. And we do need you to step forward and make a donation today. We're asking that you make a one-time donation of $1,000. Some of you out there maybe not be able to do that, but there's probably quite a few of you that can do that, or commit to doing $100 a month over the next 10 months. Your gift is going to be plowed into very fertile soil, and
that's right.
we're going to continue to bring on great folks that can speak truth, to a world that needs to hear the truth and stand against these kind of things that Tom was talking about that happened in Charlotte. And how heartbreaking. I mean, if you're a mom and seeing that, or if you're a dad, seeing that. And this
that could be anybody's child. That could be anybody's child. It was so random. It was so random.
You come to our country and you're expecting, fleeing a war and that's absolutely horrific. And you get brutally murdered. And I'll be frank with you. I've been to Charlotte many times. That's one city that I've never felt really unsafe in, and that's where it was a little bit stunning.
Well, it's these Democrat-run cities. Any Democrat-run city is going to have this problem.
The problem.
And Louisville and Lexington and all the major cities in this area are Democrat-run. And so this problem is here. And Bob, I'm going to follow up with your scripture. Obviously, this is a demonic fight, or a spiritual fight. We're fighting. This man is probably demonized. I totally agree with you. And so. But it's imperative upon citizens of a country to realize that people can be demonized, right? People can do evil things. And so so I'm going to go back to Romans. I'm going to quote another scripture, Romans 13:3. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from the fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and you will be commended. So at the end of the day, the government is instituted by God to protect our fellow citizen, to protect law and order, to protect a peaceful society. And so that is biblical. And so we've lost that understanding. The criminals do not fear authority, especially in certain Democrat cities.
Well, and why would
like
they,
Louisville.
Tom, when there's
when
no
they get out all the
repercussion?
time?
Lord.
That's right. Now they're starting to fear authority in D.C. Suddenly, D.C. is a great city to live in, because there's a lot of authority now, and they fear the authorities. So when you bring common sense, and common sense lines up with a biblical worldview of, hey, we got to have law and order. You got to have authorities. There are evil people in this world. See, the part of the left is they're so utopian. They think, human nature is perfectible. They just need to fix a few things, give people resources. It's just that everybody's born good, and we can if we just leave them alone and just quit victimizing people, and they'll be good and they'll act right. No, that's the opposite worldview. The Judeo-Christian worldview, the Western worldview, the worldview the West has been built on is a biblical worldview that says that we all have sin. We're all sinners. We all have human nature is fallen. And if you start with that premise and you understand, well, you need police. You need a military. You need to enforce. You need laws. You need authority, and because people are going to act out. And so the liberals, they can live this little utopian life, but they Bob, where they live? They live out in the East End in the nice little gated communities, or they live out in the Highlands where actually the Highlands is getting kind of rough now, But a lot of the left they don't have to live with the reality of their own ideology. The people do have to live with it are the people in communities like the West End. The West End is victimized by the utopian worldview of these East End housewives who can feel virtuous about voting for a Democrat mayor, right? And so, and granted, the West End votes Democrat too, but still, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are they're more victimized by crime than, say, the East End. And so, let's just face it. And so, anyway, I'm sorry, on a tangent, but it's all about, we got to have authority. You got to have police, and this anti-policing, like the whole Breonna Taylor thing and the whole George Floyd thing, just destroyed policing, and crime just went whatever. Anyway, just Bob, to your point, I can go off on a tangent.
No, and that's I think of, and I've been saying this a lot lately, is the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result each time. And that's exactly what we see happening with these larger cities where, for the most part, Democrats are running the show. And this Mondami, who looks like, unless something drastic happens, that, they're gonna elect a socialist mayor in New York City, the nation's largest city. Yeah. And what's one of the biggest things that he's been running on, Tom? He's been running on basically letting the people that are in jail right now in prison, Rikers Island and other lockups in New York City, letting them out. What's that going to look like? Right. When that happens. But
it's going to look like Chicago. It's going to look like the South Side of Chicago.
Well, he's trying to back down from that a little bit, but because he's trying to get elected. But the bottom line is where there's chaos. You're going to and maybe I should rephrase that, where a Democrat is running with their leftist policies, there will be chaos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there will be chaos because stupid is not sustainable. Yeah, it's just not. Even people that are left-wing and utopian, eventually they get mugged. Eventually, things like this happen, and they go, well, hold on, this is kind of crazy. I was kind of like all into the BLM thing. I was all into the, police are bad, and maybe we need to do more community policing. You get social workers instead of police, but suddenly I can't even go shopping right now without seeing a mob of people, shoplift and run out the door, and my city's falling apart. I mean, this is really happening. There are parts of this country, and it's starting to happen here in Louisville too, where it's just not even safe to go visit, and because you just know that there's not a restraint. There's not a restraint in the heart of people that have ill intent, because they don't fear law enforcement. They don't fear that they're going to be treated with justice. And so, anyway, we'll be right back with Bob Scott at Kentucky's Voice.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
The We the People Fall fundraiser is going on now. Learn how you can partner with us this week live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily. Together, we will stand for faith, family, freedom, and the Kentucky way. Do not miss it.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and we are in our fall fundraiser, and we really need your help if we're to continue this fight. And don't think just because Donald Trump is president, everything's been taken care of. It's easy. We can just sit back and go back to watching the game and grilling out and just he's got it. That is just a myth, and you're going to get sadly mistaken. This movement, we're in a counter-revolutionary moment. A revolution has been foisted upon the American people from the top down, from the left. The left has controlled every institution. They've taken it from the just taken over, right? And they've now pushed their agenda, and it's been a top-down revolution. And so now the counter-revolution is happening. Trump represents that, but he can't do it by himself, and he can't really get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on in Kentucky. And that's what we're about. We're about what's going on in our local state, our local cities. And so in order to make sure that counter-revolution occurs in our state, we need to inform people and keep people informed what's going on, because it's an information war as much as it is a political war. And so, because right now the media, the media's all left wing, and they're not going to cover stories that you care about. And so, but we are, but we can't do this alone. We're a nonprofit. We need to be seed funded to kind of get this kick started. And eventually, once we have the audience that's large enough, we will have advertising dollars to offset the cost of producing this. But until then, this is a listener-supported project, and we need your help. And so we're asking for a one-time donation of $1,000 today. We have a goal of raising $10,000. We're made a few inroads on that today. So, but we need probably about 5 people to make a $1,000 gift today. Or if you can do 10 $100 gifts over the next 10 months. If you could just call us or text us and say, hey, that's me, I'm going to support this. There is a phone number to do this with. It's 502-571-0970, 502-571-0970. Text the word give to that number, or you can go to our website, kyvoice.org, click donate, or hit the QR code on the screen. But that's how you do it, and this is how we fight back. Don't trust that Daddy Trump's got this taken care of. He's got his hands full just dealing with the world and dealing with federal. On the local level, it's you. It's you. And I tell you what, Bob, I'm going to bring in Bob Scott. A lot of people in this state would think, well, we got a conservative legislature, we got a Republican legislature, Senate and Kentucky House, and so what? We got a Democrat, governor. We can veto him and override him. Not so fast, because one problem, and you and I have talked about this before in previous episodes, one problem that having a majority and a supermajority gives you is you now have a party that can kind of sit on its laurels because it has so much power. It doesn't want to take a lot of risk because they're afraid of losing that power. And so now you almost have a two-party system within the Republicans within this state. And so there are the establishment types that are more of the McConnell Republican world, and that kind of, and they were, brought in during the McConnell era. Then you have the more of the MAGA, insurgents, the more populist conservative insurgents that we represent, and there's a battle there. And who wins at the end of the day really depends on what voices these legislatures hear. So don't think because we got Republicans controlling things that we're done. We're not done. This is when you have to hold their feet to the fire more than ever, because power corrupts and they're just going to sit back on their hands and not do anything unless you force them to move. And so, Bob, to your...
I'll build on that, and I'll say an absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolutely. That's right.
And
that's what we got. Supermajority is absolute power. Right.
Mm-hmm. Can I say something kind of controversial right now that shouldn't be controversial? It's something that's happening right underneath our noses. It's happening in this state. We're at war with communist China. Now, there has not been an actual declaration by the United States of America, or on the other side, China hasn't declared war on us, but they really have.
Yeah. It's a Cold War, if anything else. Yeah.
Their actions speak louder than words. And they're buying up farmland in our country. They're moving to take over organizations. I'm not going to mention any names today, but I know of at least one Republican state legislator that was in bed with a communist Chinese company, was doing business with them. And the problem is they're not good people. Their intentions are not for our good. They're for our harm. And these are things that we are going to continue to bring forward on Kentucky's Voice and expose. And we don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you're doing things that are harmful to the interests of Kentucky, to the interests of the United States of America, we're going to call you out. And we're not afraid to do that. And again, that's another reason why it's so critically important that those of you that are listening to step forward and support Kentucky's Voice. We are a nonprofit organization. And boy, that, Tom, in its own right is saying a mouthful. That we're not relying on the support of some media giant. We know that another local television station was swallowed up here, and quite frankly, they're already firing good people.
That's right.
And I'm talking about WDRB.
WDRB, right? Exactly.
And consolidating and bringing more of a corporate voice.
That's right.
As opposed to something. And DRB honestly had been and has been one of the leading voices, not afraid to tackle some tough topics.
Can I riff off of that right there, Bob?
Yeah, please do.
Let me echo that. Yeah, I've worked with WDRB in the past. Their GM there, Bill Lamb, and in the newsroom there. You're right. They have been more of a moderate, almost sometimes right-leaning perspective on news and politics. Bill Lamb, certainly his commentaries generally lean right, and so I've always supported them and love the folks at DRB. But yeah, they're brought out by a new entity, so we don't know what the future holds there. So we thought maybe we had a good media outlet in the state in this city that might cover some things can't count on that anymore. And so,
No, and you know what? They recently were the ones that exposed the corruption that was going on at the Department of Transportation. They had a whistleblower, and an excellent story was done. That would not have happened, I venture to say, under the new regime, the new ownership. I could be wrong, and I hope I am.
Yeah, and speaking of China, and foreign threats, I mean, beyond China, I mean, because China, there's a lot of bad actors there, and them wanting to buy up farmland. But we've got the cartels. We've got the other foreign actors really act right here in Kentucky. There was a news story on WLKY a couple of days ago about this huge drug bust here in Kentucky, and across 3 different states. And it was basically the Sinaloa and the Jalisco cartels were pumping in all this meth and fentanyl and all these fake pills and a huge bust, like 50 people. I don't know how many thousands of dollars, like 133 guns that were collected. This is a huge federal bust happened right here in Kentucky. And so there are threats outside of the state that are impacting us, and we're going to be covering issues like that. And listen, the whole illegal immigration issue has been a hot topic for myself. I've covered it about every show I can. I'm just fed up with it. And one result of that is drugs. Is all this cartel influence, right?
And we've all been affected by that. I mean, how many people do we know that have died as a result of these illicit drugs that have been pouring into
Kentucky,
our state?
In Kentucky, right here.
Yeah.
We've been one of the worst hit states for that opioid crisis. Now, a lot of that was, of course, our drug companies, but all those people that are addicted to those pills, when the pills dried up, they went to meth. And where's that meth? Went to meth and went to fentanyl and heroin. Where's all that stuff coming from? It's coming from Mexico. It's coming from these, and all that stuff is originally coming from China, to go back to China. So China is sending all those precursors to Mexico, sending it to the cartels to sneak over the border, and then it ends up in some Mexican landscaper's car as he's driving up from Texas, and drops it off to his cartel buddies here in Louisville, and it gets out on the streets. And that's just reality, folks. That's just reality. I'm not just casting aspersions on all Hispanics or all illegal immigrants. They're not all criminals, but at the same time, the system allows for a whole lot of criminality. And a lot of people are paying the price, and we're all paying the price. Not a lot of people, we're all paying the price. And the people that are dying, and it's not to mention just the economic problems of the illegal immigration problem issue, just undermining jobs, and it's almost like a Chinese. This is we only have 2 minutes left, but there was an opium war back in the 19th century in China, and the British they wanted to sell opium into China, and the Chinese were like, "Hold on, you're getting all of us addicted. We don't want to do that. Stop that." So the British actually fought a war with the Chinese government to make sure that they could keep selling opium to the Chinese, and basically destroyed their country. And they were into about 100 years of just civil war. And so the Chinese remember that, and they think, okay, that's a technique. We're going to use that on our enemies. And so they're basically doing a reverse opium war on America by funneling all this stuff into the Mexican cartels, sending it up to Kentucky and other places, and getting us addicted, killing off our working class men, right, and women, but a lot of our working class men who are now hopeless anyway because they can't get a job because all these other illegal immigrants are stealing their jobs, so they're kind of hopeless. They can't get a job. They get on drugs. They die off, and so we don't have a working class anymore because they're all dead. And so this all starts from an evil intent of trying to undermine our country from foreign actors and China and also the Mexicans who are benefiting from it. The Mexican government benefits from this. And so anyway, I'm sorry. That's my rant. You got a minute to rant, Bob. Go ahead. Actually, we got a minute to make the pitch. Go
building
make the pitch.
Upon that, that's why you, the listener, needs a voice like Kentucky's voice. That's why we're doing the We the People fundraiser. It's absolutely imperative. And our show's about over today, but you can still continue to give. And you're seeing right now on the screen the different levels that you can give at. Every little bit makes a big difference. 502-571-0970, and just type in give. It's that simple. We need you. Please step forward, make a difference, be a part of We the People.
And this is how we do it. So, we appreciate you watching today. We'll be back tomorrow on another day of the fall show.